Hey everybody, it's Troy from the Do-It-Yourself World and the Do-It-Yourself World Electronics. As you know, I've combined my videos, my channels. Trying to fix the light. It looks good to me from my display, but I won't know until I get it on the monitor what it's going to look like. So hopefully you accept. I've got the sun shining, two lights on, the monitor here blazing. So we'll see how it looks. Anyway, the topic today is about free energy. Is there free energy? And if there is, what is it? Alright, that's a thing that I've seen in the comments and on the forum for years and years and years. And recently, you'll know who you are. Today, somebody made a comment that got me thinking, you know what, today's the day for me to make this video. I've been making notes. I've got some notes here on the monitor. I've been taking notes for many years about this topic. Because some of the experiments I'm doing here stir people up, and some of them I'm afraid their heads are going to burst from the frustration and anger that people get when you mention the words free energy. And the amount of thumbs down you get, and the amount of angry comments. And I have a person who I talk to on the phone from time to time. I cannot mention this. He will blow up and will probably have to go to the emergency room if I talk about this topic. But I think that you'll all agree once I'm done discussing this, you're all going to look at this in a different light. So I hope you guys all got through this to this far without thumbing me down and getting angry. You're all going to look at this in a different light when I'm done talking about it. And you're all going to think about this a lot differently, the way I describe it and the way actually most of the inventors out there have described it through the years. On the note, there's no such thing as free energy. I consider the sun shining all day, to me, is free. The wind blowing, I don't pay for that. Water flowing, I don't pay for that. This, I've already paid for, and we'll get to that, and I think you're going to love this part. Battery swapping, I've already paid for. I'll get to that. But after you've paid for it, isn't it free? You buy a car, let's go with a used car, $500 car, in good shape. Because I know people are going to say repairs, parts, and all that, and we'll get into that too. You buy a car for $500. It's got new tires and everything new, and it's beautiful and good. It can happen. You paid for it. You got it registered. When you go to drive it tomorrow, do you have to pay again? No. It's yours. You paid for it. You can drive it. You have to pay for the gas to run it, but, you know, maybe a bad example. Sailboat. Anyway, once you paid for something, it's yours. You don't have to go pay for it again. So we'll cover that in more detail. But then I hear the argument, well, you've got to pay for the equipment to harness the energy and to use the energy, and then you've got to do upgrades and repairs for the rest of your life, and it'll never end, and you're always going to pay. To some tiny extent, that is true of all of these devices. You have to pay for the equipment to get it to work. After that, for some of these devices, whether it be recycling or even maybe energy from the environment, recycling, what I consider free energy is solar and wind, because once I paid for the equipment, it's free. But let me talk about something that is sort of, it causes me to laugh when people say that, you know, you have to pay for all this. The argument is always, you have to pay for the solar panels, you have to pay for the batteries, then you have to replace the solar panels, and you got to replace the batteries, and so on and so on and so on, so it's never free. First, commercial home solar power, the big stuff, is a scam. The only people going to make money on commercial, large-scale home solar power is the company that put it on your roof. They're going to make money. You're going to be paying for the next 20, 30 years, so there's no point. Home-built, off-grid solar power, there's probably millions of them, is profitable, beneficial, and pays for itself within a few years. I haven't put any more money into my system in 5-6 years. And the only reason that is because my power inverter blew up, and I had to get another. And that is going to happen from time to time. And there's where you're going to say, see, I got you. But consider this. You build a house, okay? You have to go and get architects and engineers. You have to pay for that. You got to go and pay for permits, okay? Then you start building a house. Then you got to pay for electricians and designers, and you got to pay for permits. And then you got to pay somebody to do the installation of your home wiring and the circuit breakers and the panels and all whatever's involved in home plugs and switches and everything involved in wiring up your home. Now I'm comparing home electric grid power to off-grid solar. So you do all that. Then you got to pay some more inspections once that's done. Then you got to pay the power company to come in, clear some trees, put up phone lines, power lines, put up wires, connect a meter. You got to pay for all that, all right? Once you're done paying for all that, you're going to pay every single day or every single month for the rest of your life. That's home grid power. Off-grid solar power, on a budget, the way most homesteaders do, set up the solar panels, set up your batteries, set up your electronics, and within a few years it pays for itself. After that, it's pretty much all free. It's free energy. That, to me, is free energy. It's already paid for. I haven't had to pay for these panels since when I was in New York. They paid for themselves. For 10 years, it's been free. Free energy. I don't have to do anything. And sure, they will need to be replaced eventually. But there's something that people are tricked into. After 20 to 30 years, they're reduced to 80% of their total original power production. I can live with that, all right, after 30 years. So if I can go another 20, 30 years after that, I won't ever have to worry about replacing my solar panels, honestly. If you can go 20, 30 years and still have 80% capacity, I can live with that. If you guys stick with me in the next videos, I can show you how you'll never have to replace your batteries again. I know, some heads are exploding, people are smashing their monitors. Please try not to destroy your computer yet. I will show you how, in detail, and I'm going to have devices for sale that will restore your batteries indefinitely. Potentially indefinitely. And it's, barring any physical destruction or whatever. So what is free energy to me? Anything you don't have to pay for consistently once you've paid for the equipment to harness it. Period. That's it. To me, plain and simple, free energy is anything you don't have to pay for from month to month, day to day, after you've paid for the equipment to harness it. Solar panels, wind power, this here, switching and recycling, my other experiments on the table here. There's a lot of forms of what I would call free energy. Some of them are on the fringe, but we'll get into some of that stuff later on. Now again, I hope you bear with me. This is some really exciting stuff I have to talk to you about, and we're going to go into this again and this here briefly on this video. And I think you're going to really enjoy and be excited with what I'm about to show you and tell you. Now, I don't know what the schools teach anymore, but when I was in school, we were all taught that the Earth is bombarded by cosmic radiation 24/7, infinite amounts of energy bombarding the Earth at all times. And then we're taught, but you can't touch it. You can't use it. Why? Why is that? All right, let's just see how many people's heads explode when I say this. If you put a wire up in the air, string a wire up in the air, just from tree over that side of the property and 1,000 foot away, and hit a wire on this side over here and hang it up, right? Let's say 30, 40, 50 feet in the air. Insulate it from the trees, drop a line down, and you can get free energy to restore your batteries, to charge a battery. All right? How many people's heads just blew off their body just now? Probably a lot. Probably a very high percentage. But the fact is, talk to any ham radio operator, especially with older coaxial wires and cables, And they have a problem with the radios being destroyed from the antenna wires coming in, because they will have a very high voltage on them. You have to ground that out, it'll blow up the radios. That's just a fact. And I've seen this come up so many times, and I brought up this argument so many times in comments throughout the years. And then they go away. They never answer back. It's funny. Nobody ever comes back and says anything about that. But if you string a wire up in the air, not touching anything, you can harness energy. I'm not exactly sure what the source. It could be ions. I don't know. But it works. Recently now they have developed coaxial wires that have a little bit of resistance in them to destroy that capacitive effect in the wires. The wires used to be like a capacitor, and they would just start absorbing energy and build up a very high voltage, and it would blow up the radios. So they had to come up with a way to do away with that. You used to be able to string up a coax in the air, the older ones, and get energy. Hundreds of volts, thousands of volts of energy. I can't explain exactly where that comes from, but it is a fact. There is energy out there, and so when somebody says you cannot, well, that's not true. Just ask a ham radio operator why they have to ground that out and why their radios will blow up. It's simple. Now over here we're getting into the meat of it. Right here, this is what, based on the John Bedini, simple schoolgirl motor, same circuit, same electronics. This one here, this particular one, there's no difference on this from the simplified schoolgirl motor. And I'm not making any outrageous claims, and I'm going to explain what I'm doing here. What I have here is one of the best battery desulfators that you can find. This is one of the absolute best battery desulfators that you can build yourself at home out of junk. I've literally taken scrap junk electronics, built one of these, and it's still running, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 years later. Must be 12, 14, 15 years? Must be more than that. I got one out there in my shop, my first ever. I took an old rotted squirrel cage motor, dug it out of the dirt, washed the dirt off, unrolled the wires. It was so old that the varnish had come off the wires, that it was all varnished together, the coil. I unwrapped the coil, strung it out hundreds of feet through the yard, spray painted the wires because all the enamel was gone and it would have shorted together. Rolled that thing up into a coil with rolls of tape and paper in between so it wouldn't short in case the paint didn't hold. And then I took junk electronics from an old, something, and I built a battery restoring device, which is still running, and I don't even know how many batteries I've restored on that. This is a video to come. It's going to take some time to be finished, but I got this battery. It was 1.8 volts when I got it, and it's now sitting at 13.1. It's time for me to do a cycle on it. It's up to 13.1 volts. It's going to take some time. I've got to cycle it through, but that's in a whole video of its own. But this is the ultimate battery desulfating device. And I will be building with my own twist on the circuits because I don't want to violate any patents or anything. I'm going to be setting up devices like this for sale, actually. I have here a little dusty one I bought off the internet. I can't make this as cheap as I bought it. I cannot make this thing as cheaply as I got it, alright? So, I bought it, but this thing, as it comes off the internet, is just an interesting little toy. The coil's there, the magnets are there, everything is there, and it's beautiful and functioning motor. But I'm going to modify this, because the circuit is not really... It spins, but there's no output. You can't do anything with it. So I'm going to be modifying these because, again, I can't design something that's so beautiful my own self for the price I get these for. This is a beautiful machine and just incredible. I will be buying these. I will be modifying these to desulfate lead acid batteries. and I'll be having them for sale. Tell me if you're interested, because this is a very convenient, small, lightweight device, and if you can get this to restore these, hey, that's awesome. And yes, it works. I've done it again and again and again and again, and this is going to be video evidence of it from start to finish. Now, this particular device is, for the most part, and John the inventor always said, it's not free energy. You have to pay for the energy to power the motor. Okay? It is a motor. It has a cost. You have to pay for the energy to spin it. But what's cool about this is it conserves the energy using normal electronics that we all understand. When you pulse, I don't happen to have one sitting here freely, when you pulse a coil of wire with a DC voltage, you connect it to a battery, there's a magnetic field forms around it, you disconnect the battery, field collapses, but then something really awesome happens. An opposite field forms, and you get a big burst of high voltage out. Alright, basic electronics. 100, 200, 400 volts, depending on how you have it set up. Some can be higher. I don't like to go higher. Mine are averaging around 200 volts. When a field in a coil collapses, you get a high voltage spike out. Basic electronics. It's flyback voltage, I think it's called. And very common knowledge. And all I've done is route it through to a battery. And those high voltage spikes break up the lead sulfate crystals on the plates, convert them back into lead acid. The chemistry is restored, desulfating the battery and returning it to full usefulness. I'm going to go into all that in another video. But what I want to say is, this device is taking energy in, spins a motor, recycles that energy, because that field is going to collapse and it's got to go somewhere. We usually ground that out so we don't destroy our electronics. Why? Why throw that away? All of our devices, do I have a relay? I don't happen to have a relay. I had relays somewhere. I got some coming in the mail today. A relay, anything with a relay, which is an electric switch and a coil, has to be, there's a diode on here, has to have a protective diode or it will blow up the circuits, because once you disconnect the coil of that relay, there's a high voltage spike released into the circuit and it will destroy the circuit. Has to be grounded out. Or put it in a battery. So what I'm doing here is I am recycling the energy that was put into the coil to run the motor, recycling that same energy. No violation of physics or laws of thermodynamics. Just recycling that energy into a battery. It's very basic. It's not any gain in this basic circuit. There's no gain. It's at best a 1-to-1, and you can use the rotational energy of the motor as well to do things. Like I once had an air filter and a fan and all kinds of stuff, and it didn't cost any more once the motor's spinning. You can do cool stuff with this for free. But what I'm doing is pulsing, recycling that energy. I've already paid for it to run the motor. I've already paid for it once. So anything after that, we could throw it away or use it for free. That's free energy. Once I paid for it, run the motor, we can throw it away. But why throw it away? You've already paid for it. Again, there's no such thing as free energy. You have to pay for it by putting energy in. It's going to wear down a battery to run it. But recycle it into here. That part is free. Right here, coming soon. This project I'm working on, I'm going to be getting this on video very soon once I get my wires in the mail. I'm using junk leads. very soon I'll have this done. I'm working with 12-volt lead-acid batteries, and a lot of you've seen it with the 18650s, which I'll be finishing up some circuits for sale for that soon once I complete some more tests and find out for sure if it can do what I want it to do for y'all. I'll be selling some circuits with switching for that with 18650 batteries, with battery swapping techniques and energy recycling, energy conservation, conserving the energy that's already been used. You're going to drain these batteries if you run a load and you hook up. I'm using specifically here a car heater, rear window heater defroster. Once you run that, you can hook up your batteries and you can run the heater and you can drain your batteries, or you can have the same electrons flow through your heater into another set of batteries and charge them up. There's no violation of laws or physics here. I'm just using the energy that was already here, that already flowed through the heater, and putting it back into here. If you hook up a battery to a circuit, it's going to power the circuit and discharge the batteries, energy going out. But if you put electrons into a battery, it's going to charge. Okay? Electrons are flowing out, they're flowing through the heater. The same electrons, unhindered, are going to the battery. There's no violations here. There's going to be loss in the system. The batteries will eventually all run down over a period of cycles. But if you run this, run the fan, these are charging, then you can swap this over, run the fan, and those will be charging. And you can do that a few times. I'm just using the energy that's already there, that I already paid for when I charge these batteries up. You have to pay. There's nothing free here. Nothing free, except you can run these batteries to run the fan, and once those electrons are return path, that's it, done. The free part is when you just use the same electrons and conserve your energy that you already paid for in another set of batteries. So I hope that's clear. I'm going to have this set up on a board, very nice and neat. Last of the parts hopefully are arriving today. So in summary, to me, free energy is the energy you get after you've paid for the equipment, solar panels, wind turbines, a rotating motor. Any energy you get after you paid for the equipment, to me, is free, because I'm not paying every month, I'm not paying every day for the rest of my life. Once you've paid for the solar power, the solar panels and the batteries, the rest is free until you have to repair or replace something. But in a house, you got mice eating wires, you got power switches going out. Over in the trailer, one of our on-off switches broke internally. I have to pay for that. And so it's hypocritical to say and consider home power being a once paid thing, because you're going to have repairs, and say that solar power is not free after you've paid for it because there's going to be repairs. You're going to repair everything throughout the rest of your life. But the energy itself, I'm not paying for. Do I get more power out of a solar panel than I myself put into it? Yes. It's a fact. One of the things that people really get upset about, you can't get more energy out of a system than you yourself put into it. Wow. Insane. The sun is shining. Those panels are producing energy, converting. I get more out of those panels than I put into it. I'm sitting here. They're pumping out the power. The wind blows. The wind turbine converts energy. You get more power out of that thing than you put into it. It just works. The power grid, it's flowing. You get more energy out of that than you put into it. I didn't do anything. It just is there. This thing here, if properly adjusted and tuned, could get more energy out of it than you put into it. Because there's energy everywhere. We were taught that in school. It's everywhere. Ham radio operators, they get more energy out of that wire than they themselves put into it. It's just there. So we'll be going on into desulfating batteries and swapping batteries and conserving and recycling the energy that you already paid for. So stay tuned for that. Check out the article on thedoityourselfworld.com. It does work for mobile devices and desktops now. I fixed the glitch. I'm going to be fine-tuning it once the weather turns colder and really tweaking that out to be beautiful on mobile devices. Right now you just zoom in and forget the side menus. I'll be cleaning that up in the next months, but it works now. Check out thedoityourselfworld.com. Join the forum. I'd love to hear from you in the discussions. If you have any input, ideas, discussions, or projects or experiments, share that on the forum. The link will be on down below in the article and in the descriptions and in the comments. I'll put all the links down below. And please support my Patreon channel because my videos are not earning much of anything anymore at all. After the cost of the internet, it's really isn't paying. But $1 a month, if I can get enough people doing even $1 a month, that'll help tremendously for me to continue paying. And you have to pay to get the energy. You gotta pay for the equipment to get the energy, and I am paying a lot of money to get all these parts and components in the mail that I've been ordering to do this stuff to teach you. So it'd help a lot. Anybody could support me through my Patreon account. I'll put the link down below. That would help me tremendously to keep on doing these videos. And I'm going to go on into the solar panel and solar power series, how to wire your system yourself, how to save and do it without any problems or trouble, if you are technically inclined or good at that. Otherwise, I can point you along the ways on how to get it done by a professional installer on a much lower price. So I can teach you how to get your home solar set up affordably so that you're not paying the rest of your life. So you can have free energy. Then I'm going to teach you how to restore your batteries so you're not constantly paying for repairs and equipment and parts the rest of your life. And then we'll go on and do battery swapping so that your batteries will last longer each day on the very same energy that you paid to get the solar panels to get into your batteries. A lot of cool stuff coming up. Check it out. Please like this video, subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.